Hey everyone, thanks for joining us on Management Muse. I'm your host, Cindi Baldi.
Yellow.
My co-host, Geoffrey Tumlin. And today we are talking about AI and why it's not the answer you think it is.
That's right. You want to start with the...
reducing friction part.
Right. Yeah, tell them what happened when they made the...
Oh, so...
AI was nice.
I think it was like this last change on ChatGPT, when they had first put it out, they took away... Some of the complementariness.
Yeah. Wow, what a great question.
AI, ChatGPT 4. And those were the comments that were coming out. Like people didn't find it as appealing because it wasn't as complimentary.
Right.
And so now it's back. And because...
Great question.
Yeah, because I'm aware of it.
You're really making me think.
I know. Yeah. It does. It really says, that is a well thought out question. Because I use AI all the time. I love AI. And it does. It makes you feel good.
Yep.
But at the same time, I'm really aware of the fact that it could be distorting my view of my own question and my own genius.
Yep.
And that is part of the problem with AI and why it won't completely take over the world.
Yeah. Well, it's not a replacement.
It's not going to replace. It's not going to replace humans. That's the better way to say it. Welcome to Management Muse.
Because everybody deserves a better manager. Yeah, and the long arc of a lot of the tools of the last 25 to 30 years are that they're trying to, if you like this word friction, which is perfectly fine, it's trying to reduce friction in human interaction. And if you make it so easy to interact or to communicate, I just send you a text message, or every time I ask a question, the AI tells me good question, then it becomes harder to do the analog things, because people are not going to tell you your questions are good all the time.
Right. And because of that, I think, and we've seen this again with some of the previous technology, the text messaging, the emailing, just even social media, because there's such an emphasis on I know some people go crazy on social media, but generally speaking, if you're actually a human being on there, you're fairly positive, you're not, you're not really
self-presentation.
Right. There's a lot of self-presentation. And because of that, people aren't getting called out for the ways that they're jacked up. And because of that, they're becoming even more difficult to, it's hard to tell somebody. This is the reason why everybody is so defensive about getting real feedback, because we've already structured a world where we're not getting it. And AI is now taking it up to the next level, where it's not enough to not have positive feedback.
Yeah. Now
it's giving you positive feedback that's just may not actually be relevant.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't have it's not that the AI isn't real or that social media isn't real. It's just that it's not representative, of how actual human interaction goes. And so, 13 years ago, I just happened to notice that 13 years ago, I wrote a book about this long before AI was an actual viable...
He was at the cutting edge of social media.
Right. Because it's making things... If you make things too easy, so I just send a text message to ask if you want to hang out, then that causes the 15-year-old boy to never actually have to ask somebody for a date and have to figure out on the fly what to do if it seems like they're about to say no. And so you can...
And never has to learn how to accept rejection and bounce back.
Right. And so this is a concern that I had, over a decade ago, over a dozen years ago, and a concern enough to spend some time writing a book about it. But the basic gist is, I'm not anti-AI. I'm not anti-computers. I'm not anti-talking through a computer. But you have to be able to retain your ability to do the things other humans require. For example, you have to be able to push through rejection. You have to be able to persuade in real time. You have to be able to resolve a dispute. And then as it relates to AI, you have to be able to
have your idea out there and take real feedback.
Right. You have to be able to have the non-AI agent tell you that's a terrible idea and here's why. Or this doesn't make sense. I thought you said this was important. Why are you now shifting gear and focusing on something else? And there's a limit to how much friction we should reduce in our lives. Because first of all, it doesn't prepare you for the actual life that you're going to have to live, which is a real life. And secondly, because it's in some of that friction that we're able to find solutions, be creative, revise our early mental drafts of something to become more accurate and get a better idea, perhaps. And so that's why we wanted to talk a little bit about this episode of AI not being the answer you think it is.
Right. And those are some of the ways in which like the reduction of friction is a problem.
Yes. And also I'll say one more, if you'll allow me, is that it's a lot of this ground we've been over before. Years and years ago, people thought, well, if you play video games, you can increase your cognition. If you do a crossword puzzle, it's good for your brain. If you learn in a simulator with a car, you get better at driving a car. And the main finding for all of those is that playing a video game just makes you better at the video game. And it doesn't transfer from a car simulator to being better at driving a car.
That's really good news because we went to an arcade this past holiday.
Yes, we did.
And we had some driving games that we engaged in, and both of us were terrible.
That's right. We wrecked them up.
We did. We wrecked them up pretty hardcore, went through buildings and everything. Ran over pedestrians.
All of the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's like, this will be my last disclaimer, but I feel like I can't believe I'm getting so old that I've repeated things. I'm repeating something that we talked about at book length a dozen years ago. I'm not anti-progress or technology, but it's never...
You still have to remember there's a human.
There's always going to be a human. To anybody who thinks AI is going to save the world, I dare you to call your cell phone company and not jam 0 a million times because you want a human being. And are the bots getting better? And can they understand more work? Yes to all of that. But if I venture to guess, if you're listening to this voice, my voice, and you're actually having to call your cell phone company, it is because a bot cannot figure out your problem. And you have to have a human. I mean, I'll give an example. Fortunately, you handle a lot of this for us, and then we have people who help us with this, but I almost never have to call for customer service for things. And Clear, the airport, this is a very simple problem to explain. But we both have to be in Clear because we travel all the time. Last year, I had the highest status on United and you didn't. And so I got free Clear and put you under my Clear at a discount. This year, it's flipped and you have the higher status. And so and they changed their pricing. But the upshot is we need to take Geoff from being the leader of Clear with Cindi under to making Cindi the leader of Clear with Geoff under. And the people who do this work for us couldn't do it. And when they got a human, the human being couldn't do it because they needed the actual account owner, which is me. And so I literally took a few minutes. When you were doing something with your mom, I was supposed to be on vacation and I'm calling Clear and they don't want to put me through a person. And so I'm trying to look, I'll go with AI on this. And so I'm explaining this to the AI. Look, I used to be the top at 1K on United and now it's my wife and we need to, I'm trying. And as soon as you say switch, it asks about, do you need to shut the account? No, I don't need to shut the account. And then if I start with 1K, it talks about, do you need to know about the 1K changes to the 1K. And no, I don't. I know all of this. And within a relatively short period of time, I give up. Like, that's it. I tried. I give up. And because it's a Saturday.
You need to try yelling at a customer representative. That's what I often do.
This is my point about all of this AI, which I know it's going to be great for us in so many ways, but it will not stop people. There'll be a while before it gets clever enough.
Right. It facilitates the routine things and it can knock that stuff out beautifully, but it's never going to be well, maybe not never, but at least at this moment in time, it's not able to do the more complicated things that are non-routine.
Yes. And we're in an arms race where as this happens, you're closing your call centers because we work with call centers and people are worried like, are the jobs going to go away? And the $25 an hour where you need 100 people, that may go away. But what you're going to need is $90 an hour. You're going to need.
Right. You're going to need really well-trained, capable people running a call center.
That's right.
There are just things that you need a human being for that are like information, like task-oriented, but not routine. So the recurrent AIs haven't been actually trained to do it. Even in time, if they do become trained to do like the non-routine things, we're still going to need, human beings, because what are organizations serving if not human beings? And as long as organizations are serving human beings, we are going to need human beings on the inside of organizations.
Yeah.
There are many things that you do in business that you may do the research to first set it up, but then it's just about whether or not they treat you right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And whether or not you like your sales representative or feel good when you walk in. So there's like a human connection that happens that basically perpetuates a customer relationship that AI also cannot completely take over.
Right.
And so that's the point that I would make on the customer side. On the employee side, it's very similar. I mean, like the main reason why people, and there's, by the way, a podcast coming out on this as well, like people would actually take lower salary, many people, to fire their boss. And I say that not as a replacement for AI, but as a symbol of just like how incredibly important a good relationship with a boss is. And how, like, if you have a good relationship with, like, I've had so many conversations over time with people who really were probably at a level where they were bored with what they were doing because they've been doing it so long, but didn't want to leave because they loved their boss.
Sure.
And we've seen it in terms of like mentorship, like somebody who has a strong mentorship. Like these relationships are very sticky and are really part of the satisfaction of working in a place. And it could be like also your coworkers. It doesn't just have to be your boss, but your boss definitely can ruin your day. And AI, like there's like this thing with AI taking over management. Okay, I will be surprised if that happens. Like that will be like probably one of the most surprising things that ever happens to me in my life if that happens.
Right.
Like
nobody.
ChatGPT is really kind to me and really makes me feel good about my ideas. But I'm not growing with ChatGPT. They're facilitating, they're helping me work at the top of what I'm already capable of. They're not taking me to the next level. And that may be helpful. It may be good information. It may save me a tremendous amount of time. But I'm not looking forward to seeing ChatGPT. Like I don't have any feelings about ChatGPT.
I think you have feelings.
Well, I mean, I do like ChatGPT, but I don't miss ChatGPT.
Yeah, I think it's you use a good word. It's the stickiness, right? A lot of the drive with technology and business is for this word efficiency. And yet a lot of what happens in management is inefficient.
I see where you're going there, but keeping your employees, it may take time to build the stickiness and like that may not be directly impacting the bottom line.
Sure.
But actually, if you're reducing turnover, you're actually more efficient. And also, if you like your boss, you're probably going to be willing to be influenced by your boss, which means you're all on the same page, which is actually increasing efficiency.
Yeah, in the long run.
Even in the short run. Like, I mean, you got to get to the stickiness, but like, if you're willing to be influenced by your boss, your department, like, and that's widely felt in your department, you're operating more efficiently.
I agree. To get there, your boss had to pour time into you.
Yes, but it actually doesn't take all that amount of time.
Agree.
It's not a huge time investment to get to the initial stage where you know that you have somebody that you trust and that you respect and that you're willing to be influenced by. If you know, I mean, like, obviously there are differences in capabilities among managers, but like, really it's just a few important interactions and then you get there. Whether or not you blow that up or not, that's a different story. So it's not, now you're going to have to continue to do it over time. You're going to have to continue to show up and you're going to have to continue to reinforce that they're your people and that you're looking out for them and want the best for them. But again, like, it's not a lot of time, even if it's happening over a long period of time and needs to continue to happen.
Yeah.
And the benefit of it is massive.
Yep.
I mean, we have been in places where people have hated their bosses, and while the bosses were there, they did what they said, but the second that the boss was gone, and hey, you know, bosses shouldn't just be sitting there watching you. They got other jobs to do other than control. The second they're gone, those employees are doing whatever they want or intentionally sabotaging the boss because the boss has been great.
Yeah. And I don't dispute any of that. There's probably going to be a temptation for managers to think they can save time with an AI type troubleshooter for their people.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
Well, you think about the work that we do with coaching, and I have absolutely no concern that any of the coaching that we do will ever be replaced by AI for the same reason that we talked about the call centers will never go away.
Yeah, I know that people, because this is similar, not that we're doing therapy, but we are doing like management coaching. I think it's similar to like the discussion that's happening right now about AI being a therapist. And I don't think that would be happening if there were actually
enough therapists
who were affordable.
Yep.
Because that's another barrier. I think everybody would absolutely choose a person. And the problem with them choosing AI instead of a person is that AI can't be a human. Like, you're going to a therapist to talk about human problems,
right,
and have human reactions. And it may be able to help you take the scramble inside your head and get it more clearly out of your mouth so you can communicate your problems. But ultimately, you have to actually communicate those problems to a human being, and AI isn't going to be the prep guy. It's like when we were teaching in universities, we used to always, the two of us, used to always joke around about the communication class that was public speaking because, like, they wouldn't have any actual public speaking.
As soon as the students could, they would go to a one-on-one coach and not actually do the thing.
Even worse, as soon as these phones came out, they'd video themselves, their public speech, and the professor would be grading it. That is not public speaking unless you're standing on in front of all these people, being judged, being scared, and having to remember you're not practicing public speaking. And the same thing with AI being any sort of coach, any sort of therapist. Like, you are basically getting the scramble out of your head through your mouth. That's helpful. But until you're in front of somebody and you're risking your relationship and you're risking rejection and you're risking their judgment, you are not actually doing the thing that you need to do.
Yeah, we used to say in the Army, it's probably the thing I think about more than anything else, train as you fight, which was you have to be actually doing the thing you're going to be doing to know if you're good at it or not. I think that's a problem. And to be clear, you're saying an important point. We're not saying that these AI bots are bad for therapy for people who wouldn't be getting therapy.
Yeah.
They're
an improvement.
Just saying,
getting your head straight.
If we had more therapists, that would be better than the bots. but the bots are better than nothing. The bots may be proven to be better than nothing. I think that's ongoing research, and the signs are encouraging. Similar to the robots with the elderly and the little talking seal. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but this is old. I mean, this is pre-ChatGPT. The little seals with the big eyes that they give to the elderly, and it does reduce loneliness in the elderly.
Right, which you'd still rather be around a person, but at least you got – and hey, if there had been a good AI robot with your dad, we wouldn't have taken your mom out of the house, but we certainly would have probably put it in the house to like talk to him.
It would have helped at some point.
Right. Initially, he would have been like, what is this thing?
Right. And a part of what may have worked for my dad was that he did have not only my mom, but 2 other caregivers coming in multiple days a week to give my mom.
Yeah, the robot wouldn't have replaced them. Yeah. It just would have kept an eye on him. Fortunately, his dad was not a wanderer.
Yeah.
But it would have kept an eye on him.
My dad had dementia. Yeah.
Yes, his dad had dementia. I think it would have probably provided some peace of mind because his dad, out of habit, continued to go to the backyard pool and clean it out. And if he'd lost his balance, which people with Alzheimer's have, they start to have bad balance. Yeah.
The Lewy body.
Yeah. And so, like a robot that could have kept an eye on him, that would have provided some peace of mind. We didn't know if he was going to be a wanderer initially. I mean, I bought alarms for all the doors so that way anytime they opened, they'd sound. Fortunately, he didn't actually have a desire to ever leave home.
Yeah.
But like all of those things, absolutely a robot. And I think eventually they're going to be really great at reading health signs like temperature and things like that and can communicate back to a doctor. Like for people who are in rural America, I think there's a lot of potential, but you still want if they could go to a doctor instead of have a robot, they'd probably go to a doctor instead of have a robot. But there's a barrier of money and there's a barrier of schedules and there's a barrier of a long, long, long drive.
Yeah.
And so they can fill in the gap and they're better than nothing. But to say that they're going to just outright replace some of these jobs, it just isn't. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah. I'll stand by a prediction that most humans will want their significant health care delivered by another person, at least the important parts of it. And then there's going to also be a survivorship bias. Go back to this idea of why I don't think call centers go away, why I don't think any of the work that we do in coaching goes away, is that people will be running it by GPT and it won't work.
Yeah.
And so you're, again, let's say it works for, pick a number, let's be AI generous. For 80% of the things that people want to call Verizon for, they can figure it out on AI. That's great for the customer. That's great for Verizon. That still leaves the 20%. And if 80% of the things people want to reach out to us for, they're able to do with AI, that's great. There's still going to be a non-trivial percentage of problems and challenges that are going to be beyond the reach of the AI, I think, even no matter how clever it gets, because of the things like creativity that you were talking about. And that doesn't mean that the AI I know can make music, AI can write poetry. I understand that. I think that there will always be a percentage of cases that eludes AI and requires higher level human thought. When they have an
actual relief to reach the human being and just be like, oh,
yeah,
I can just tell you.
Yeah.
And then you can figure it out.
Yeah. Which I think is a gigantic deal. And then the other thing that you mentioned, which is we sometimes talk about the sacred glue in organizations, is the relationship between the manager and the direct report. And that doesn't take a lot of time, but it takes some time. And then once you have that, it's very sticky. Or if you feel like you don't have that,
it drives you out. If you don't have a good relationship with your boss, it drives you out. Even to the point where sometimes like just a boss who isn't present it's actually perceived as rejection. And so that also makes it more likely that you'll exit. So I like the relationship actually really is important.
Yeah. Yeah, we talk with a lot of busy executives, and they will occasionally complain of, like, well, sometimes just for fun, I'll ask, when was the last time you had your one-on-one with the CEO? And they're like, well, it's been 3 months. How many have been canceled? 3. We're supposed to meet monthly for 10 minutes. The last 3 have been canceled. And so it's a...
All right. I mean...
These are some of the first things to go. Just as a reminder, as we're having this AI conversation, of the importance of having some, not a lot, 10 minutes, 15, depends on if there's anything going on, but some one-on-one time, uninterrupted, with the people who you supervise to talk about the most basic stuff.
Well, I mean, just think about that for a second, because I do know it happens all the time, and I definitely don't think it's intentional, but what are you saying to an employee when you perpetually cancel the meetings with them? You were telling them that they are less important than everything else you're doing. And yep. I think recognizing that might change whether or not you do that in the future, because that employee is carrying a huge load that you do not want to have to carry.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you feasibly can't meet your employees every month for 15 minutes, then either, obviously cut your span of control. That's easier said than done, or just cut the meetings to 6 times a year, but make them.
Yeah.
And if you have to adjust them, but don't cancel.
Right. And I totally agree that if you're having a bunch of meetings in a row where there's nothing that's really happening, you're probably meeting too frequently.
Yeah.
But you do need to have like a bare minimum, like a once a quarter meeting.
I am excited about AI, but it has echoes to a lot of things in the past. Not only the frictionless of social media, which we've talked about, but another element is during COVID, when we realized, COVID's complicated, but we did realize, okay, we can do some of these things we can do online, but a lot of them we can't. And I feel like some of this AI goes back to the COVID lesson learned of, if you'll allow me the exaggeration again, kids under the age of 18 cannot learn online. Well, whatever, 5% can. Almost all kids need that old school instruction. We learned that. We learned that not all meetings can be online. Not all deals can be closed online. Not all relationships
can be maintained
online. Not all cultures can be done remotely. And so here's AI, and it does have great promise, which I'm excited to be a part of. We won't have a choice but to be a part of.
We already are. I mean, we love it. I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
I do love AI. I just don't miss AI when I'm not on it.
It's not going to replace the difficult work. It's going to help with a lot of the things that humans do and make us better, but it's not going to replace some of the highest level troubleshooting. I don't know that it will ever, and I think I'll stand by this, I don't know that it will ever be able to determine a business strategy, because business strategy is for a particular company, one company, and the large learning model is learning from all companies. And so it's like an average can't ever tell you how
it's going to tell everybody in the same industry to do the same thing.
Right. And so then it's not a strategy.
Right.
And I don't think it can we are a small consultancy of organizational behavior in Houston, Texas, with a lot of Texas-based healthcare clients, but also first responders and a car
yeah, we have a bunch of random ones.
And so it's not the answer. AI is going to be awesome. Not the answer.
Well,
and I feel like
a tool.
It's a tool, but I feel like all this reminds me of the internet, and it reminds me of social media, and it reminds me of Zoom, in the sense that there's this overwhelming promise. I think it's Scott Galloway who says that in the short term, we always overhype a technological change and underestimate its long-term effects.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it takes a while to even just see the applications.
Yeah. You'll always have to invest time and blood, sweat, tears, if you let me use that metaphor. You always have to invest time and energy in your people and helping them feel connected to you and to the organization. And there will never be a tool that replaces that.
I agree with that. I will also say that, however, you would be crazy to not be leveraging AI to help you be better and to learn to be better and to basically make your job more interesting by working at a higher level. You'd be crazy not to use AI for that.
Yeah.
Stop being afraid of it. It's probably not going to, we don't think it's going to take your job. We could be wrong. We're people on the internet.
Well, I think it takes I don't know a good word to say, somewhat crappy jobs. It takes a lot of call center jobs away. It probably takes paralegal jobs away.
For the people who don't continue to up their game, but you could be in a call center and learn to do the more technical things,
sure.
harder things.
Yeah, and it's going to create, it's already created for us jobs that we didn't know existed, where we used to pay for SEO help, search engine optimization. Now we're paying for GEO help, generative engine optimization. So it's creating these whole new jobs that didn't exist. Just so many, like technology tends to do. I mean, we're definitely not the first to observe this.
Sure. It's a reshuffling.
Yep.
But my point is that, stop being afraid and figure out how to use it.
Yeah, I remember, it's been a while now, but I remember some of the places we worked a long time ago when they forced the last organizations, healthcare organizations, forced to go to electronic records were rural hospitals, some of the last. So the big companies were electronic a long time ago. And when they finally forced the rural hospitals, there were excellent providers that said, that's it, I quit. Because they'd worked long enough and they didn't want to go from the paper charting, which they were accustomed to the... Sure.
Yeah. We knew a number who wouldn't even answer their emails because that just wasn't something that they did.
Yeah. I think our advice would be, don't be like that with this technology. Stick around. I think it's going to be a fun ride. I think that all of us, we are going to have to pay attention to who loses their jobs and how they get retrained and what opportunities might be available. But we've seen in the last 5 or 6 years since COVID, it in a very good economy, it basically has allowed a ton of people doing low-paid work that was difficult to either be able to move into other types of work for more money and not as grueling, or enabled or forced even some of the organizations that we were with to pay those people a lot more. And has that been a dislocation? Yes. Has that caused uncertainty? Yes. But it's been better for the employee. And most of the companies that we've been with have successfully adapted to that. I wouldn't be surprised if AI does something similar.
All right. That's all we got to say on AI, and not being
for today
the answer we think it is, or we think you think it is.
Or even we think sometimes it is.
I said that. Yep. I said the we part first.
Yep. Not the answer. Well, Lord knows we'll probably talk a bunch more about AI in the years ahead.
Because I do enjoy myself.
I know you love it. I know you love it.
All right.
So I don't have to worry about you falling in love with the ChatGPT.
Nope. But you have competition for compliments.
You're falling in like with it. That's right. It's resetting your bar.
You don't speak as nice to me as AI does.
Thank you for that feedback. I really appreciate your excellent feedback.
It's true. I give it an idea and you pull it apart and AI says, that's a really great idea. Here's the information you need.
You may not be in love with AI, but it's making you like your husband less.
All right. If you enjoyed the episode, which if you made it this far, you did. So subscribe.
Yep. All right. See you next time.
See you next time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today on Management Muse. We are a podcast / YouTube channel that we hope is entertaining and educational. If you are on YouTube, we would appreciate you subscribing and maybe leaving a comment and a like. If you are on any of the podcasts listening to this, we would appreciate stars, following, comments, all the good stuff. We want to say thank you to Sarah and Rebecca. And then just as a last minute reminder, we also want to mention that we are management and communication professionals working in the field, but also have degrees that back us in science. All that being said, we are talking in generalities on this podcast. We do not actually know your particular situation. So proceed with common sense and maybe a little bit of experimentation on your end. And we hope that you make the world a more beautiful place by making work a more enjoyable place. See you next time on Management Muse.